boring makes billions. If you would like to be the go-to girl in your industry, the one that is the most talked about, the one that anytime someone says something about your arena, the next word out of their mouth is your name. This is how you really build this beautiful referral-based business. And obviously you can't control what other people do, but what you can do is kind of do a few things to orchestrate these scenarios to possibly be more in favor of happening for you. So if that's something that you want, this is the perfect video. And I really want to kind of open up with a story. Right now I am in quite a few like masterminds. I'm in a few different rooms, and these people are, let's just say, if I'm at level 2, they're at level like 15. Okay, these people are killing the game. They're making a ton of money. And I've been in a room similar to this where there's about 10 people, and a lot of them are kind of dealing with very similar problems. And one person will mention how they solved a problem, and then the room will ask, "Oh, how did you solve that problem?" And almost every single time, someone's name is mentioned. And the minute that person's name is mentioned, all of these people bring out their phones and they ask for their contact information. I just want to note, like, I want to point that out. They didn't ask for their Instagram. They didn't ask for their email list. Like, how do I get on their newsletter? How do I follow their YouTube channel? No, they are asking literally, how do I get that person's phone number and call them immediately? And I just want to show how powerful that is because it shrinks the buying process. Like, we spend so much time on our marketing and on our email list and on our Instagram and creating content because we're trying to warm people up and warm people up and warm people up, and maybe they'll book a call and maybe I'll be able to sell to them. When someone says your name and has something good to say about you like that, someone is ready to buy without even having to consume any of your content. This is so incredibly powerful. In fact, I am currently in the industry, I'm in the market for a really great interior designer. And I've asked a few people about their experiences with interior designers, and some have said, "Oh, I've really loved mine. I've really loved mine. Here's mine. They're really good." But there's one person that was brought to literal tears telling me about her experience. She told me about how it was not just getting her home decorated, but it was the experience. It was the way she felt so seen, so cared for. And it was the way that this project was not just brought to completion, but it was brought to completion with excellence. And that's really what you want, is you want people to speak about you, not because, they have to, or because they like should, or because they just, but because they feel this insane emotion about the result that you've created for them. So no matter where you're at in your business, no matter like where you're at in your journey, I want to talk about how you can kind of start seeding some things, seeding some conversations to up the chances of this happening. So the first thing I want to talk about is really how you can frame some asks to kind of start asking people to mention you. And I know you're thinking, "Macy, I don't want to have to ask somebody to mention my name." And I get that. Like, you want people just to do it because they want to. It's also okay to kind of get the ball rolling in your favor and just kind of seed that as a possibility. So the first thing I want you to think about is, like, how do I frame the ask? And hey, secret, y'all want to know a secret? Sales and getting someone to do anything that you want them to do, it's all it is framing. That's all that it is. I want you to think about, there's a room full of pictures, but only one is framed. Like, where does your eye go? It goes to the one that's framed. It tells you how to focus on something. So instead of just saying, "Hey," I like would love for you to refer to me, I want you to frame it in a few different ways. I have 3 options for you of how to frame this. Number 1, you can frame it with something that's in it for them. Something that's in it for them. What does this mean? This means you can actually make something in it for them to refer you. You can offer a little bit of a commission something, you can offer a little bit of a affiliate situation and actually pay them to refer you. Now, I know that you might be thinking, okay, Macy, I don't want to have to pay people. I want them to do it because they want to do it. And I'm here to tell you that money, by far, is the purest way to exchange something. Like, I, I personally, I personally like to pay people for things. And I'll tell you why. I don't really want someone to give something to me and me kind of have this expectation that I need to do something for them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want, even if our services cost the same amount and we're going to trade services, I still want to pay them and I want them to pay me. I just want it to be clear and clean that, like, hey, I am here to do one thing, and that is to get this result, period. Nothing more, nothing less. It is the purest form of really exchanging goods and services. So money, in my opinion, is a very nice and kind way to really lay out, hey, this is what I'm asking of you. And if you do it, you get paid based on results. And really a great way to do this, you can also just create an affiliate program. And I will say, an affiliate program is so powerful because what you can do is kind of create this team and create this camaraderie to really refer for you. And I know Russell Brunson, he's the founder of ClickFunnels, but he built ClickFunnels literally through an affiliate program. He would do a webinar every single week, and every time he would do a webinar, he would say, hey, can you ask people to come to my webinar? I will pay you if they come. And here's another way that you can think about this when it comes to paying people affiliate money. You are going to pay someone something. You're going to pay a marketing team. You're going to pay a social media manager. You're going to pay a social media coordinator. You're going to pay Mark Zuckerberg. You're going to pay somebody to get the word out. Why wouldn't you just pay the people that love you and actually have a story to attach to your name? Do you know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to pay people. Don't be like feel weird about offering an affiliate commission. Be so excited and willing. The one caveat I want to mention here is you think that because you offer someone money that they will keep it top of mind. They won't keep it top of mind. We get really, really busy and we forget about things, and we're trying to run our own businesses, most of us. So if you do have an affiliate program, you really need to like have someone running that program and be really, really intentional about keeping them hyped up, selling them on like actually sharing your program, and also rewarding them. Another way that you can frame this is a favor. A favor is an amazing way to ask someone of anything. People love to maintain great relationships with people. Like, this is human nature right here to think, okay, if they like me, I am safe. Like, that's how we survived growing up back in the cave days. Like, if we knew that we were in our tribe and everyone loved us, we could go to sleep and feel safe that someone was going to protect us. So it is our human instincts to be like, okay, I want to stay on good terms with this person. And a great way to set that up is to actually ask for a favor. Hey, can you do me a favor? If someone like comes to your mind, would you be willing to mention my name so that they, listen here, watch this, so that they can have the transformation that you've also had? It is not, hey, just do me a favor. It's, hey, can you do me a favor? If someone were to need my services, can you mention my name so that the payoff for the other person can experience the transformation that you've experienced as well? Now, this is the most critical part of asking for referrals and asking it as a favor. Are you guys ready for this? This is like worth your time being here right now. Do not ask, do you know anybody? Do you know, like, honestly, if I were to ask you right now, do you know anybody that needs a house? Do you know anybody that needs coaching? Do you know anybody that needs a charity to give to? Do you know anybody? Does your brain not go blank? Like, really think about this. It goes completely blank. So instead of being general, we're going to go specific. So you're going to ask, hey, can you do me a favor? If there's somebody that could really experience the transformation that you've had, do you mind mentioning my name? And they say yes. Here's your next step. You get specific with them and you ask, okay, great. Let me ask you, who is the person that you call when you need business advice? Does someone come to your mind right now? Specific person? Okay, great. Name. Okay, cool. Who is there anyone in your life that recently has just moved? Is it person kind of come to your mind a little bit more? Maybe. Okay, great. Name. Who is the person in your life that you know has made like the most money? You were to, and you can ask these questions based on your industry, right? So I know Christina, you are a real estate agent. So it's like, hey, do you know anybody who has recently had a baby or is currently like pregnant and is about to have a baby? They might need a bigger house. Write that name down. Do you know anybody who possibly their parents might have just passed away? They might have a house that needs to be sold, right? Write down that name. Now, they may or may not, but I will say, like, someone did this with me one time. He was trying to get referrals and he was kind of helping me almost brainstorm with him. And I will tell you what it felt like is it felt like he and I were a team. And it felt like he and I were on a mission to help these people. Like, I really felt like I was doing them service, a good service, by being the person that connects them with him. And I was so happy to do it because he helps me so much. And I know that you guys help so many people as well. And before I left that room, you know what he did? He said, amazing. Macy, if you don't mind, before you leave, will you just throw me on a 3-way email with these people? All you have to do is send that first email and I'll take it from there. I'm like, perfect. And that's exactly what I did. I saw that there was about 10 names and I was happy just to connect. I walked out and I was done and he took it from there. Now, whether they ended up working with him or not, I don't even really know. And it doesn't really matter. But I just know that I did my job in doing what I could to help them. Now, would that be helpful for you to not only have these specific names, number one, their contact information, and a literal name referral right then and there before you even walk away from working with somebody? Do you see how powerful that is? Okay, cool. So you can frame it with what's in it for them, you can frame it as a favor, and you can also frame it as a gift. Now, there's something called the rule of reciprocity. And the rule of reciprocity states that if someone does something for you, you feel like you have to do it in return for them. If someone opens the door for you, you're like, oh, let me open the door for you now. Someone picks up something for you, you're like, oh, is there something that I can do to help? You just feel like you need to do something for them. This is a beautiful thing because it just helps us like serve people really well, right? Now, the key here is not to give a gift to someone and expect something in return. It's just to give a gift freely, knowing that the rule of reciprocity will come into effect. Okay, so I know people that will give gifts to people who either have already referred or who they want to refer. So there's like, people of influence. You guys know people in your life that are like super influential, and you're like, man, if they could be someone that talks about me, I wouldn't hate that very much. These are the people that you might could give a gift to. So I know people that will literally send either their referral, highest referral, or people of influence. They will send them on all expense paid vacations, not expecting anything in return. I don't expect anything, but I know that the rule of reciprocity is going to kick in. I know that, okay? If you do give a gift, do not give anything with your company's name on it. Do not give me a hand sanitizer with your logo on it. The gift cannot be about you. If you do give a gift and it does have a name on it, make sure it is their name. And I promise you, they will remember who gave them that gift more than any gift with your company's name on it. Make sure it's their name, okay? So I'm going to give you a few caveats for a gift. Number one, make sure if there's a name, it's their name. Number two, make sure it's relevant. Relevant. What does this mean? It can be really easy to give a gift that you think is just like a nice gesture, but it ends up being a bunch of junk in their life. Can I get an amen? Like, please. Someone gave me something to put my keys in one time. And I'm like, who even takes their keys out of their car anymore? Like they say, you know what I mean? You don't even take your key. That's not relevant anymore, right? So one of the gifts we really love to give is a journal, but that is relevant because we talk about journaling. We talk about journaling about your future identity. I like talk about journaling all the time in my content. It's relevant. But if you are selling like cars, that might not make sense. So just give something that is relevant to you and and make sure it represents an identity. Why is that so important to represent an identity? Well, the thing about when you're selling something, hopefully you're selling an opportunity to go into an extraordinary world. Now, I know that this is about to sound really dramatic here, but our brain, I mean, y'all, our brains are the same since cave days. So really understanding human nature and how the brain works can really work for you. So when you are trying to survive, a huge part of that is knowing that you're safe in your tribe. We are tribal humans. We love to know that, like, I know where you stand and you know where I stand. This is why sharing some of your like views and your stances, even though they might be controversial, they can be really helpful because people, even if they don't agree with you, they feel safe because they know where you stand. I'm good. I know where you're at. I know where I'm at. This is good. So when you are selling someone to take different actions, sometimes you are selling them to move tribes. I know this is dramatic, but this is true. So I want you to imagine this. Let's say you're a health coach, okay? And you're selling someone to cut out carbs, hypothetically, okay? What someone might be thinking is, wait, my family, we do homemade pizzas every Friday night. If I don't do homemade pizzas with my family Friday night, like I'm not going to be included in them anymore. I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be in this house and everybody's doing this thing and I'm going to be the only one that can't do it and I'm going to make them feel uncomfortable. Like you're telling me to leave the people that love me the most? That is literally where our brains go. And to you, you're like, what? It's just carbs. It's no big deal. No, you're asking them to walk away from a tribe that is going to be looking at them like, why aren't you eating this? You always eat this. Do you see what a big deal that is? So when you give something that represents an identity, what you're giving is the opportunity to come to a new tribe and to remind them that, hey, there is a tribe here that supports you. There's a tribe here of sales girls that believes that you can be a mom and make money. There's a tribe here that believes in excellence. I know that right now you live in a world that just does the least and just tries to get by and hates their life and hates their job. But hey, over here, like we're the sales girls and like you're safe here with us. So a great example, like our journal that we gave at our Sales Girl Summit, it says, I can't wait to meet her on it. And her is your future self. And that's the thing about sales girls, like we love to evolve to be able to meet who we're going to become when the goal is hit. That is a tribal vibe, right? Another gift that we love to give is like a onesie for people that we know are having babies in our community. It says little winner, which is an identity, is a winner. But we love like babies. We love motherhood. We love celebrating moms and sales girls who are building businesses and having babies. And so that's a way to send them a gift that represents our tribe, represents an identity, and makes them feel like, oh, even though I'm not in the room with them right now, like I have a tribe that supports what I'm doing. Do you see how powerful that is? And every time they get that onesie out, they see the little winner, they see the onesie, and they're like, man, the sales girls are like for me. And even though they walk into, maybe a room that doesn't support them, in the back of their mind, they know that there's a tribe that's for them. Do you see how powerful that is? Okay, so these are ways that you can frame you being top of mind all the time. Now, I want to tell you two more things. I want to tell you what you can focus on as well, what you can focus on, and who to follow to make this more likely to happen. So, one of the things that you can focus on to be able to be the it girl, so we had framing. I'll put frame right here so you remember. The next is focus. How you can focus on what you're doing. So that framing portion was all about, okay, how can I try to orchestrate other people's actions where you obviously can't control them, but you can kind of seed a little bit. This is like what you can do specifically. And I will tell you the number one thing that you can focus on is staying in the game. Like just stay in your arena long enough to prove to people you ain't going anywhere. I was talking to Daniel Priestley. I have a couple stories about him because we were just speaking at the same conference, and so we were sitting backstage, and I got to talk to him a lot. He wrote Oversubscribed. He wrote Key Person of Influence. He has a software company called Score. He's just super successful and amazing. And he recently got on Diary of a CEO podcast. Do you know that podcast? Yeah, you're like, it's my favorite. It's so good. Stephen Bartlett is do you guys know that podcast? If you don't, you need huge podcast. Okay. I mean, huge. And he just got an Instagram DM, said, hey, do you want to come on the podcast? Isn't that crazy that that's how it happened? You would think it'd be this like phone call and email. And no, it's just an Instagram DM. And I was like, how on earth do you think you got that asked to be on the podcast? What on earth happened? He said, I think a huge part of that is that I've been writing and talking about the same thing for 10 years. That when you search my name, there is overwhelming evidence that I've been in this lane for a long time. And we're talking about referrals, like who can, not just how many people can talk about you, but at what level of a person can talk about you. So the level of like Stephen Bartlett, who's like, I see you as so much of an expert that I want you to speak on this topic of my podcast, that's huge. And he said a huge piece of it is just staying in the game. Are you kidding me? That's why I keep saying I can't wait till I'm 80. Can you imagine where we're going to be when we're 80 years old doing this? I mean, we're only 6 or 7 years in. Holy moly, when we're 80 years old. And I was just telling Courtney, I was like, I can't wait for someone like Sarah Blakely or Ed Milet to be like, let me look up the Salesgirls. And they just scroll and they scroll and they scroll and they scroll and they scroll. And they're like, man, these girls have been at it. That's what I want people to do, right? And I think a lot of people bounce around because they get bored. Do y'all ever get bored at what you're doing? Ever? A little bit? Yeah. No? Okay, so she said, I don't get bored. I'm thriving. I feel you. I've thrived too. But I'll tell you one thing, what one person said to me that made me see boredom as a good thing. She said, Macy, boring makes billions. Boring makes billions. I actually want you to be bored. When people get bored in their arena, they're tempted to change their offer. They're tempted to change what they do. They're tempted to change lanes. And I 100% understand. There are definitely times that I'm like, man, I could totally dabble over there. 1,000,000%. Anytime I start to feel that itch, what do they call it? The 7-year itch. Feel the itch or the tendency or the thought of kind of looking over there. I think, okay, how can I channel this energy and create a new way to package the same offer? Instead of changing the offer, how can I have a new way to package the same offer? And can I tell you what that is? That's selling. Because you know what another way of saying package is? Frame. That's all it is. How can I reframe this in a totally different way? And really like scratch that creative itch by thinking about the framing, not the offer. Just stay in the game. People talk about being an overnight, like I remember when Rachel Hollis was blowing up, people called her an overnight success, and she was like, yeah, the night was 10 years long. And then I got, discovered. So just stay in the game. So stay in the game. And then the other one is to focus on getting better. There's a story about Chick-fil-A, and they were in competition with Boston Market. Do you guys even remember Boston Market? Do you know Boston Market? I used to love to go there after my tennis practices in high school. They had the best sweet potatoes. I'll never forget those sweet potatoes. And at the time, they were neck and neck. They were the chicken companies, neck and neck. And Boston Market was blowing up. They were buying all this real estate to pop up these Boston Market places. And I don't know much about real estate. Christina here does. But I think they called it A locations, B locations, C locations, depending on how great the locations were. And they were buying up all these C and B locations just to get the quantity up to be the first billion-dollar chicken restaurant company. And I remember listening to this podcast. It was like one of the first 10 employees was sharing the story. And I think one of the sons of Truett Cathy went to this conference, and he came back and he said, here's our plan to get bigger. We're going to buy this and buy this and buy this and buy this. And Truett Cathy apparently slammed his hands on the table and said, stop. Instead of thinking about how can I get bigger, think about how can I get better, and they will demand that you get bigger. And here's what's amazing. That's exactly what they did. They obsessed with getting better. They only bought the best of the best locations, those A-level locations, which are harder to come by, much more expensive. And eventually, Boston Market ended up overspending and not being able to keep up with the supply, or wasn't able to fuel the demand with all the supply that they had, and ended up suffering. And Chick-fil-A obviously took off because they focused on getting better. Now, I want to show you Price's Law because it demonstrates how easy it actually is to be the best of the best, to be the best in your arena. So Price's Law states that the square root, really think about this here, the square root of any number does about half of the results of the whole group. So let me show you this, okay? Let's say there's a sales team of 100 people. What is the square root of 100? Do you guys know? 10, very good. 10. So Price's Law states that out of these 100 people, 10 do 50% of the results, and 90 people do the other 50% of the results. So let's think about this. By the way, Price's Law, it's a law. What does the law mean? It means it's affected of everybody. How many of you are not affected by the law of gravity? We all are. So the law means everybody is affected by this. This is true for everyone. Okay. So let's say these 100 people, let's say they did $10 million in sales. Okay. Collectively, 10 million. Well, that means if Price's Law is true, that means these 10 people generated 5 million together, and these 90 people generated 5 million together. So let's say they all get their commission split up. That means these 10 people, their commission split, they each get $555,000. That's their commission based on what they sold right here. Are you guys following me? Say yes if you are. Okay. These 90 people, when they split their commission, they make $55,550. $55. This is a 9 times difference. What does this mean? This means you could take what you're making right now, multiply it by 9, and that is your potential income when you are just the best of the best. Like, you don't have to add more, you don't have to do more, you don't have to change anything, you don't have to pivot, you just be the best of the best. And I promise you, can I tell you why this is actually very easy? Most people are not willing to do the thing that they need to do in order to be this person right here. Like, you actually have very little competition when you're thinking this way. And all you're doing is failing your way to excellence. It's actually so easy. And so next time it gets hard, I know for me, I definitely experienced some tough things in business, but when it gets hard, my initial thought, so whenever I get bored, my first thought is like, good, let's repackage it. Let's like spice it up in a different way. And then when it gets hard, I think, good, that means I'm further and further away from these people. Because I know most people get to when it's hard and they're like, yeah, I'm checking out. And I get excited. I'm like, that just makes me get, I'm heading on up there. I'm getting closer to that 9x income right there just from being the best of the best. So we have frame. We have what you can focus on. And the last thing I want to talk about is, I'm just going to put it right here because I don't need a whole sheet, is think about who you're following. So I got a question one time that said, Macy, I'm doing high ticket service sales. So she's a service provider selling high ticket, and she wanted to sell through emails. Okay. And she said, well, how can I use my email list to sell high ticket at a service? So service is something that they do for you. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe she's an ads manager, maybe she's a content manager, maybe she films content, edits content, she could do all these different things. And you can totally really use your email list that way. You really, really can. It is, of my opinion, that the best way to sell a high ticket offer in any way is to put someone in a immersive environment. What does that mean? Immersive is like a confined time that we spend together. So like a 3-day event, a 5-day challenge, a 5-hour workshop, like a full few days together of an immersive environment is more likely to be able to convert in a high ticket offer, okay? Because immersion creates conversion. I want you to think about immersion. Like if I were to immerse something in water, I cover it completely and take them into my extraordinary world that they've never experienced before. Does that make sense? And when they experience and get fully immersed in the world, then they're like, wait, I think I might want to stay here. Like that's why when you want to learn a language, the best way to do that is to go move to the country because you're fully immersed and it happens so much faster. So that's in my opinion the best way to do a high ticket offer, okay? Now, to create an immersive experience requires quite a few things. Ask me how I know. It requires money, a lot of money. It requires a team. It requires you being so insanely prepared. It requires you selling the event. It requires technology. It requires a lot. The payoff is amazing. I highly recommend it because it's a game changer for your business and it requires a lot of things. So can I tell you what I think is an amazing way to have the same effect without having to host an event? Do y'all want to know? Buy someone else's program and go to their event. And make sure, like get on their list and make sure that your values align because you really want people that like value what you value, right? Go into their world, don't go and like look for clients. That's just going to be the byproduct for sure. Like our sales girl world, I cannot tell you how many of them buy from each other. In fact, one of our girls just hosted her own mastermind here these last 3 days. And I looked around the room and I was like, wow, there's like 50 to 60% of sales girls in here. And I'm like so happy about it. I want them to all buy from each other. But the reason they're doing that is because they have been immersed with her so much that they're like, whoa, I vibe with her. She knows what she's doing. Like you are kind of always in an audition all the time. You know what I mean? When you are a student, you're still being auditioned by other people to see, could I work with her? Could she solve my problem? In fact, I went to an event and I will say when I have a problem, let me just tell you this. When I have a problem, the first thing I do is I ask the other business owners that are in the rooms that I'm in the masterminds and in the programs. And can I tell you who they almost always recommend? Someone else that's also in that event. Someone else is also in that room almost every single time. I'm like, what is this? And it's just like this culture of, oh yeah, I know them, I trust them, I love them, they work for me, go. So that exact thing happened. I was needing a problem solved. I asked somebody and she said, oh, this person for sure. She happened to be at an event. I had a 15-minute lunch with her, a quick conversation, clearly saw what I needed to see, saw the room that she was in, saw that she was well liked, saw that she knew her stuff, saw what she valued, and I said, done. It's a done deal. It was a high ticket service, sold right there. Still don't follow her on Instagram, still not on her email list. I'm not even sure if she has an Instagram, to be honest. I don't need any of that. I needed a 15-minute conversation, and I needed to see her in a world in which I knew, and well, I should say a world that represented what she valued, which made me know that we were on the same page there. See how powerful that is? So just to put this in context, the room that I'm talking about that I was in, it cost me $55,000 to be in that room. Do you know how much it took for me to put on my own sales event? $200,000. Do you see what I'm saying? Like you see rooms that are 55,000, 75,000, 350,000. You're like, that is so much money. I'm like, yeah, and you could also do it yourself, and like you even if no you don't get any clients from any person's room, you still learn so much and start to kind of get to know people. Or you could do it yourself, take on all the risk, you know, spend the money. And I still recommend doing that, by the way. I really do. But if you're just trying to get started, getting your feet in programs, getting yourself in rooms, and aligning yourself with other people's tribes is one of the fastest ways that you can do that. So if you want to be the most talked person in the room, you can frame your ask by asking for a favor, making something in it for them, or also offering a gift. You can focus on being the best of the best and staying in your arena for long enough for people to even notice. And lastly, you can really think about who you're following and join people's arenas, join people's tribes strategically so that you can start to be the known person in your arena in each room.